Okay, so our next step on this optical illusion is to begin with the graphite. So like I had mentioned before, we're going to start with the graphite. It's the easiest to control. Then we're going to move to pen and ink and then to colored pencil. So for this mini lesson, we're going to tackle the graphite columns, okay? So just one real quick note here, things that you're going to need for this little lesson. You're going to need your kneaded eraser, okay? So have that off to the side. And then 2 sets of pencils. So you have 6. Grab your 4B and your 6B. Going to have those off to the side. And then you're going to have your HB and your 2B. Have those off to the side, okay? So if you are right-handed, like myself, I'm going to start on the left side. I'm going to have my 2 graphite columns be on the left side. If you're left-handed, go ahead and start with your 2 columns on the right side. Reason is that if I start with a graphite on this side, I won't smear it as I work, okay? So you left-handers probably know what I'm talking about. Again, if you're right-handed, start with the 2 columns on the left, and if you're a lefty, go ahead and start with the 2 columns on the right. Okay, anyhow, so I'm going to go ahead and start with my HB and 2B. Now, one of the goals of this project is to tackle the value in these columns ring by ring, okay? And we had started talking a little bit about how the formula for the success of these optical illusions, the formula is that you go from dark to light to dark, dark to light to dark, dark to light to dark, no matter what the medium. So out of these 2 pencils, I'm going to go ahead and start with my HB. I'm just going to pick a ring. I'm going to zoom in here a little bit so that you can see. I'm going to pick this ring right here, and I'm going to start by just going ahead and putting some value. And I'm going to kind of avoid the middle of this ring. So out of the 2 pencils that I'm using for this ring, I chose the lighter of the 2. Remember, your value is not dictated by necessarily how hard you push. Let it be dictated by which pencil you choose and just the average weight of the pressure, okay? So right here I could also go ahead and maybe put one more layer down because I'm pretty good at not pushing too hard the first time. Remember, your graphite's all about layering. Then I'm going to bump up to the 2B. Okay, now this time I'm not going to take my value out as far. Think about that gradual value scale that we practiced that first week of school. Nice gradual value progression, okay? And that's all I'm going to do to that ring. All right, now I'm going to set aside and grab the darker 2 pencils that I had asked you to pull out of your kit here. I've got the 4B and the 6B. Now I'm going to tackle the next ring here. I'm going to start with the lighter of the 2, which would be my 4B. I'm going to add my darker value here. Again, leaving that light area in the middle of that column. Remember, that is establishing that light source I was talking about in your optical introduction of this project. And you can turn your paper, okay, because you want to try not to get any pencil lines with this. Okay, so that's my 4B. Okay, come back in, make it a little bit darker. And what's cool about using these 2 different pencil sets is you can create kind of a striped effect with these columns. You'll have a light stripe and a dark stripe. If you want to do a light, a dark, a light, a dark, you can. If you want to do 2 lights and 2 darks or come up with your own kind of pattern, you can. That was my 4B. I'm going to bump it up to my 6B and just put another layer down here on the corners. Make that look a little bit darker. Okay. If you need to, come back in here and adjust some of the values, like on that top ring, might be a little bit darker here than what I wanted. Remember, come in there with that kneaded eraser, then just gradually pick up some of that value, okay? And then I'm going to keep that going ring by ring. here to the top. Start with the lighter of my 2 pencils. Now, one tip as you are continuing this is that as your column gets thinner, your highlight on this column will get thinner. The wider your column gets, the wider your highlight gets. And again, it's good to practice on this graphite one, kind of get your graphite columns honed in before you move on. And then you'll kind of have a good visual on what that looks like. A lot of that is just using your mind, imagining what your light source would look like coming down this column as it's getting wider. What will end up looking like is that it's coming towards you. Bumping up to that darker value again, I went from my HB to my B. Part of your problem solving is imagining where the light source is. Okay, I'm going to move down. I'm going to go down this way a little bit so I can show you. Now the highlight will get a little bit bigger as you move, as the column moves closer to you. Back and forth. I'm going to move down here. So if I'm going to do the every other, so that's light, dark, light, dark. I'll go ahead and do another dark one down here. So wait, light, dark, light, dark. I'll start down here and I'll show you what I'm talking about with the highlights, understanding how wide they get. If I started with the wrong pencil, I'm going to start with my 4B. Now when I put down this graphite, I'm putting it down in the direction that I want this ring to appear, which it's moving. So I'm wanting the direction of the light to look like it's going around this column. So I'm going to put my pencil strokes down in that same way, only because if you can see the direction, you want it to enhance the direction. Most of us aren't quite skilled yet to not get rid of that direction, as you maybe noticed with your graphite skills, and that's okay. That's something that comes with practice and time. Okay, so that's my 4. I'm going to bump up my 6. You can see the illusion starting to happen. Now it's kind of being fooled by this part right here because that needs to be filled in. I'm wanting to show you a highlight here. Okay, so this highlight now is kind of going off in this direction. I might kind of open it up a little bit, widen it up like that. Then you can make those adjustments. So the graphite columns are great ones to practice on. You're going to need to complete both of these before you move forward. Okay? All right, good luck.